At the highest level of football, success is measured in trophies, contracts, and lifestyle. Luxury becomes part of the image. Expensive cars, designer fashion, and for some, rare, high-end watches worth tens of thousands of euros. These items are more than accessories. They are symbols of status, proof that a player has reached the top of the game. But what happens when those symbols become part of a criminal investigation? Because recently, several well-known footballers, including Dani Carvajal, David Silva, and Santi Cazorla, found their names linked to a developing case. Not for what they did on the pitch, but for what they may have done off it. Authorities began investigating a network suspected of smuggling luxury watches across borders. The focus was not just on the product themselves, but on how they were moved. And more importantly, how taxes may have been avoided in the process. At the center of the investigation was a company believed to be facilitating these transactions. A business that allegedly handled high-value watches without following proper customs procedures. According to reports, the method was subtle. Watches purchased abroad, transported discreetly, documentation handled in ways that reduced or bypassed official scrutiny. On the surface, it looked like luxury retail. Behind the scenes, investigators suspected something different. A system designed to move expensive goods while avoiding the full cost required by law. For authorities in Andorra, this raised serious concerns. Because when high-value items cross borders without proper declaration, it is not just a technical issue. It becomes a financial crime, tax evasion, and potentially smuggling. As the investigation unfolded, attention turned toward the buyers. Not just the sellers or intermediaries, but the individuals purchasing these watches. That is where the names of professional footballers entered the conversation. Some were believed to have bought multiple watches. Others reportedly spent significant amounts on single transactions, amounts large enough to draw attention. But here is where the story becomes complicated. Because being a buyer does not automatically mean being guilty. And being part of a transaction does not always mean understanding how that transaction operates. So the question quickly shifted from what happened to what each individual knew. Were these players simply customers? Or were they aware of how the system worked? Because in a case built on movement, money, and hidden processes, knowledge becomes everything. And until that question is answered, the line between involvement and innocence remains unclear. When the names of high-profile players appear in a financial investigation, the impact spreads instantly. It moves faster than the facts. Across social media, across sports news, across fan communities already sensitive to controversy. The moment Dani Carvajal, David Silva, and Santi Cazorla were linked to the case, the narrative began to form. Not always accurately, but powerfully. Because in modern football, perception travels faster than truth. For fans, the reaction was immediate. Confusion, frustration, debate. Some questioned how players at the highest level could be connected to a smuggling investigation. Others defended them, pointing out that being under investigation does not mean guilt. That distinction is critical, but it often gets lost in the noise. Media coverage added another layer. Headlines focused on the scale of the case, the luxury items involved, the cross-border nature of the transactions. Each element made the story more compelling, but also more complex, because this was not just about football. It was about financial systems, customs regulations, tax structures, and how high-value goods move between countries like Spain and Andorra. For authorities, the concern extends beyond individual transactions. It is about patterns. If a system exists that allows expensive goods to bypass proper taxation, then it creates an uneven playing field, not just in football, but in business and commerce. And when high-profile individuals are connected to that system, the stakes rise. Because influence matters, visibility matters, and cases involving public figures attract far more attention than those involving unknown buyers. For the players themselves, the ripple effect is personal. Even without charges or convictions, association with a financial investigation carries consequences. Reputation becomes fragile. Every statement is scrutinized, every action interpreted. Silence can be seen as avoidance. Speaking out can create further questions. It becomes a situation with no easy position. Clubs and sponsors also feel the pressure. They operate in environments where image is critical. When players are linked to investigations, even indirectly, organizations must manage risk carefully. Public relations strategies shift. Messaging becomes controlled. Because in football, brand value is as important as performance. What makes this situation particularly delicate is its uncertainty. No clear conclusion, no immediate resolution, just an ongoing process where facts are still being established. And in that space, between allegation and outcome, speculation thrives. At the center of this investigation is not just a purchase, it is a process, a system that authorities believe may have been designed to move high-value goods while avoiding full legal scrutiny. Investigators focused on a company suspected of facilitating luxury watch sales across borders, a business operating between Spain and Andorra. On the surface, it appeared legitimate, a supplier of premium watches, a network connecting buyers with rare, high-end pieces. But beneath that surface, authorities began to question how transactions were being handled. The concern was not just the sale of watches, but the movement of those watches. According to investigators, one possible method involved separating the physical product from its official documentation. Invoices might not match shipments, or shipments might not be declared in full at border checkpoints. In some cases, goods could be transported in ways that reduced visibility during customs inspections. Individually, these actions might seem minor, but combined, they can create a system where taxes are reduced or avoided entirely. And when dealing with items worth tens or even hundreds of thousands of euros, the financial impact becomes significant. Authorities also examine the role of intermediaries, individuals or entities who may have handled logistics, communication, or delivery. These middle layers can make transactions harder to trace because the buyer is separated from the full process, which brings the investigation back to the players. Figures like Dani Carvajal, Silva, and Santi Cazorla are not being treated as organizers of the system. Instead, authorities are trying to understand their position within it. Were they simply clients purchasing luxury goods? Or were they aware of how those goods were being moved? That distinction is critical because in financial investigations, intent matters, knowledge matters, and proving either requires more than assumption. It requires evidence. Transactions must be traced, communications examined, patterns identified. Until then, the case remains open-ended. What is known is the structure being investigated, a network where high-value goods move through channels that may not fully comply with regulations. What is not yet known is the level of awareness among those connected to it. And in that uncertainty lies the core of the investigation. When an investigation like this becomes public, the consequences are immediate, not because guilt has been established, but because perception has already begun to form. For players such as Dani Carvajal, Silva, and Santi Cazorla, the shift is subtle at first. A headline, a mention in reports, a connection to a developing case. Then it grows. Questions from journalists, speculation across social media, debates among fans who are trying to understand what is happening. Even without formal charges, association alone can create pressure. Because at the highest level of football, image is part of the profession. Reputation is not separate from performance. It is part of it. Sponsors evaluate it. Clubs protect it. Fans react to it. When that reputation is challenged, even indirectly, the impact spreads quickly. Endorsement deals can become uncertain. Public appearances may be reduced. Communication becomes controlled, measured, and cautious. Every word carries weight. Every silence creates interpretation. For the players, the psychological effect can be just as significant as the public one. They continue training. They continue competing. But now there is an added layer, awareness, of being watched differently, of being discussed for reasons unrelated to football. That awareness can affect focus, confidence, and even relationships within teams. Teammates may not say anything directly, but situations like this change dynamics because uncertainty affects everyone involved, not just those named. Clubs also face a delicate balance. They must support their players while protecting their own image. Statements are carefully worded. Commitments are made to cooperation and transparency. But behind those statements lies a strategic calculation, how to manage risk without assigning blame. Beyond the individuals, the case contributes to a broader pattern in modern football, where off-field issues increasingly shape public perception of the sport. Financial investigations, legal disputes, questions about governance and accountability. Each new case adds to a growing narrative that football is not just a game, but a complex system where money, influence, and regulation intersect. And in that system, even the appearance of wrongdoing carries consequences. Because in the public eye, the difference between involvement and suspicion is not always clear. In the end, this story does not conclude with a verdict. There is no final judgment, no confirmed guilt, no clear resolution. Instead, it remains in motion. An ongoing investigation involving high-profile players like Dani Carvajal, David Silva, and Santi Cazorla, and a system that authorities are still trying to fully understand. That uncertainty defines the ending. Because in cases like this, what matters is not just what is proven, but what is possible. The possibility that a network could exist to move luxury goods across borders while avoiding full regulation. The possibility that individuals inside that network may not fully understand how it operates. And the possibility that the truth may take time to emerge. For football, the implications extend beyond this single investigation, because every case like this adds to a broader conversation about money, about influence, about how the sport operates behind the scenes. Football has always been more than a game. It is a global business, a system where billions flow through contracts, sponsorships, and rights deals. And wherever that level of money exists, risk follows. Risk of manipulation, risk of exploitation, risk of systems that operate just beyond clear visibility. For fans, the challenge is different. They continue to watch, continue to support. But with each new story, a question begins to take shape. Not about what happens on the pitch, but about what happens beyond it. Because trust in football is not built only on results. It is built on belief. Belief that the system is fair. Belief that the game is clean. And belief that when something goes wrong, it will be addressed. But in cases where the outcome is uncertain, that belief is tested. Not broken, but questioned. And questions have a way of staying long after headlines fade. For the players involved, the path forward depends on what the investigation reveals. Clarity may come, or it may not. But until it does, the story remains open. And in that openness lies its power. Because sometimes the most important part of a story is not the ending, but the question it leaves behind. Were they knowingly part of something larger, or simply navigating a system they did not fully see?